so I have no criticism of them.
State Representative Alicia Reese of Bond Hill, Cincinnati, just today expressed concern about hair follicle testing, hair strand testing, and how the proposed policy for legalizing marijuana would affect past court cases, past convictions. And so what can you say going forward? What kind of policy changes do you think would need to accompany any legislation that's at the State House right now?
Well, as I said, I haven't followed this current State House action very closely, but I do believe, I've believed for a long time, that we were unwise in our policies of criminalizing the use of marijuana, so that we ended up with large numbers of young people being incarcerated, thereby achieving a criminal record that would follow them for the rest of their lives, depriving them of the ability perhaps to get an education or to get a decent job. So I think we need to recognize the failures of our past policies. And we're in the midst now, the legislature's in the midst of trying to come to terms with what is the best way forward. And I haven't followed it really closely, but I wish them well in their efforts, because I do think this is a matter that needs to be clarified so that people understand exactly what is and is not legal or permissible. And I would hope that those who have been subjected to lengthy prison sentences in the past for nonviolent behaviors that involved the use of marijuana, I would like to see those cases reviewed to see if there needs to be actions taken.
Senator, Hillary Clinton has endorsed you and you endorsed her. Let's jump ahead to the fall here. We expect her to be the nominee coming out of Philadelphia for Democrats. The talk in Washington, to all the people that seem to know everything and at the same time know nothing, is that both she and Mr. Trump have the highest unfavorables. What is it that Hillary Clinton needs to do to bring down her unfavorables and or raise her favorables before Election Day in November?
Well, I think she needs to talk about what she wants to do in terms of leading this country, providing the kind of leadership that people are crying out for. She's a fighter for the middle class. She's an advocate for children. She is a person who has great experience in terms of international relations. So I think she needs to compare her record and her positions with that of the presumptive Republican nominee, Donald Trump, a man who has indicated that he would encourage Japan and South Korea to develop nuclear weaponry. A man who has insulted our veterans, and John McCain especially. A man who has said that he would apply a religious test to those who were able to enter this country, saying no Muslim should be able to enter this country. A man who has refused to release his income tax returns. A man who is against raising the minimum wage. A man who has talked disparagingly of women and is an embarrassment, quite frankly. So I think what Hillary Clinton needs to do is just compare herself with Donald Trump, and she'll be just fine.
So how do we get the Beltway crowd in Washington to start promoting her as opposed to attacking her?
Well, the Beltway crowd in Washington is living in a bubble. And I think much of the rest of the country doesn't have a great deal of respect for what the Beltway crowd thinks or says. And so I would encourage Hillary to get out into the country, to go to small towns as well as large cities, and to just listen to the people. And I think if she does that, she's going to be okay.
Part of the discussion about her doing well, and if she does well, you'll do well. If she doesn't do well, you may not do as well. there's this sort of simmering story that is President Obama going to stay on the sidelines, or is he going to come out and defend his 8 years as president? Do you want him to campaign like he's really running for a third campaign?
Oh, well, I don't want him to campaign like he's running for a third campaign, but I want him to run because he's concerned about the future of the country, and he knows that if Donald Trump were to become president, that would be very harmful to our country, both domestically and in terms of our international standing. So absolutely, I hope he gets out and campaigns vigorously. I would love to have him here in Ohio as many times as he's able to come.
Do you think him?
We gotta get him out of here.
Yeah.
One last one. Do you think if he turns out if he comes off the sidelines, will that boost the kind of voter turnout the Democrats need?
Well, I think he's going to leave office a very popular man. His approval rating is now
51%.
Higher than Ronald Reagan's was at this point in his career, or George Bush's was, or Bill Clinton's was at this point in their careers. So yes, I think he'll get out and he'll campaign for the things that he cares about, and I hope he does.
Governor, in there you were talking about politicians, and I think you said baby soft hands who are really doing things to hurt working people. So when's the last time you had a manual labor job? People might say you had a baby soft hands.
Well, I think earlier today, I don't know if you heard me, but I said I've had a very fortunate life. But I did work as a laborer. I did building construction. I did highway construction. And I also grew up in a family where I was expected to engage in labor. My dad did not believe in idle time. We worked really hard, and I know people who work really hard. I talk about my brothers. I talk about my niece. I don't think you have to necessarily experience it yourself to have empathy for people who are different than you are, but I see no evidence from a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that they have any understanding at all of what it's like to have a hard physical labor job. And that's why maybe they can talk about increasing the retirement age to 70, or they can talk about these things, because they apparently would have no one within their sphere of influence that they could relate to that engages in that kind of work.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody.